So are you going to read that and then
Don't hear anything out of Anita. Miss Shirley?
She had a doctor's appointment this afternoon. I thought she was gonna make it.
I guess I better not fall out, Alex. So I guess I better not fall out.
No,
Quorum.
no, please don't. Please don't.
It's true, no.
$1 billion. Bridge and culvert on Main Street.
Your public safety building 10 million. I remember seeing a newspaper in Orlando Executive Airport. They built it 1915 or something like that, $500,000. The whole thing.
And I saw your first one.
That was a long time ago.
Sorry, I told Jenny he's not leaving.
Probably when they had
She
that big works. Remember when they had
You're
that?
gonna find my house.
And they did good work.
They did it.
Find me my
They
yard.
still got buildings standing
How
around
you
here.
doing? Don't even know.
I think that
Tractor on your brain.
those swimming pool, isn't that a WPA building? I think it is. One of them, the Boys and Girls Club's using.
Yeah,
I think it's a WPA
they're
project.
using us. Oh,
It's the one they covered earlier.
okay.
It's the,
They're using it for us basketball. Yeah.
They put that big shelter.
They
over.
probably did, yeah. I swam in that pool.
I did too, so I learned how to swim.
Yeah.
something like that.
1960 something.
Yeah.
I think it's been since the 30s or 40s.
Just seemed like.
Used to cost a dime or a quarter or something to go in there.
One was.
Getting a new computer.
People don't even pick up dimes anymore. They mean so little. I stayed there.
Somewhere the other day and. Anything when it's left over, you know, and I just, you know, keep it, you know. She stand there whole and she said, yeah, I'm eating. And this one, a place where you would normally kill was dry, you know,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and I thought,
That's not the song. Is that a song?
with that attitude, I mean,
It's true. Dipping's kind of gone off the chart.
a lot of people are stopping.
We were in New Orleans. I went to a convenience store. Just,
Yeah.
and there was an option to tip on. I've never seen it before.
Oh, my.
At Chevron or something out there. Well. Electric five, I guess we were go ahead and start on. John, you ready? We're gonna call the June 2025, June 25th, 2024. City council meeting to order. Want to remind everybody to silence your cell phones. Ms. Landry, will you lead us in opening prayer, please?
Our Father, we come before you today just praising you for who you are, for how you take care of us, provide for us, protect us, lead us and guide us. Thank you for all that you do. I pray that you would lead and guide us tonight as we take care of city business that affects the citizens. Help us to be always mindful of the decisions that we make. In Christ's name I pray, amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, roll call, please, ma'am.
Councilmember Bruns.
Here.
Councilmember Hampton. Councilmember Woodball. Vice Mayor Landry.
Here,
Mayor Kim.
Here. Approval of the items on the consent agenda. Only thing we have on there is the resolution. Well, two of them, resolution 2024-11, 2024-12.
motion.
Councilmember Bruns.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Yes,
Mayor Kim.
Yes. Okay. Item number 4, we're going to receive requests from the general public. And the council welcomes anyone to come up here and speak. The time is set aside for our citizens and the general public to address the council on any matter not included on the agenda. This is not a question and answer time, nor is it a political forum, nor is it a time for personal accusations or derogatory remarks from anyone. If you would like to address the council, please come to the podium when you're called, speak into the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Please also limit your comments to not more than 5 minutes for individuals and 10 minutes for groups or delegations. Anyone on the agenda would like to speak at this time? Here, no one. All right. Number 5, bids. Any,
Please read before opening of sealed bids. Currently, I'm opening the sealed bids for road striping and street name signs. I will only be reading out the vendor and the amount of the bid. There will be no discussion at this time about any bids that's being opened. These bids will be given back to the purchasing agent and then to the department which the sealed bid is for. The city reserves the right to reject any and all bids. The city reserves the right to select the bidder, waive any informalities, or to accept the bid deemed to be in the best interest of the city. Any errors in bid submission are the responsibility of the bidder. Right. So for the road striping. First one is from Young Striping and Sealing. And it's by, all the gradients and feet, like you all requested. I'll just state the, smallest amount to the largest amount. That's $1.48 for under 1,000 and up to 2-inch crosswalks lit up to 10,000. To the 23. All right. All right, I'll just do it that range like that. And then, next one is Gaines Sons. And their smallest is 60 cents. Up to 38 cents. Right. And the last one is Emerald Coast. And their smallest was $1.55 per foot. And over 10,000 is 30 cents. So, well, tabulate that. And as far as the city street signs, none were turned in.
The street signs, I'll talk about that. All the street signs downtown, that were blown away from the hurricane, some. We have quite a few that are missing, like close to 250. So because of the amount of the quote that we got, we had to bid it out, so 5,000, well, nobody bid on it, but I do have 2 quotes from the companies that we've always used. One is Vulcan for $7,316.97. The other one's Red Bud Supply for $11,388.60.
Is that installed as well, or
No, we
It's
should
just make-
install them. That's
they just make 'em?
fine. Normally, we just buy the signs as needed, but because there's so many, it's over the 5,000. So if y'all are good with the quotes I have, I'll go with the Vulcan, is it Vulcan Supply or Vulcan Ink?
this price is pretty much in line with,
7,000.
I know what I'm saying, is that what you normally pay? I mean, if you divided it out?
Yeah, per sign,
Have you done business with them before?
yeah, both of them.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Oh, second,
Councilmember Bronze,
Yes.
Councilmember Landry,
yes.
or sorry, Mayor Pitts.
Yes. John, or somebody help me out. I'm not seeing the FFA on the agenda.
You're gonna take that. I might have to move a few things around just to get the people out of here. We can. We have E and F, B and C.
What about the train depot project? The train depot project.
Oh, the, Lewis Walker roofing was, for refresh your memory, $34,970, and next dimension was 57,000 and change. Clearly $20,000 difference. So we'll go with Lewis Walker roofing.
Thank you.
E and F, right after A.
D and F. What about the FFA?
We would add one right after E and F.
Sure, I want to let them go first. Or. Okay. Anybody from the FFA like to speak now? Anyone? All right,
Is that on our agenda?
it's not on the agenda, we just put them in and move them to the top, because there's so many of them here, that's going to wait through the whole meeting, so. You will just, give us your name and address for the record.
Good evening, I'm Jessica Gross, and I live
Hi.
at 1700 Courtney Road, but I'm the agriculture teacher at Toledo County High School. And we've been trying to get whatever approval we need to be able to have our livestock back on school property. If you want to know why livestock is necessary for school property, it supports the agriculture student performance standards, also known as benchmark. Actually, part of my students' curriculum, for them to be able to show competence in certain skills relating to livestock animals. They have to actually physically demonstrate that they know how to do certain standards, certain skills as part of my curriculum. Students are expected to be able to demonstrate skills in raising, showing, producing goods, and selling livestock. It is what's best for the kids in the program. Students who raise and work with livestock learn life lessons that they can use regardless of their chosen career. I would also like to point out that if we are not raising students who know how to care for and manage livestock, we will not have future farmers or veterinarians to replace those who retire in and around our community. If students are not learning about farming and ranching with hands-on experience, we will not have any food or good producers in the future. Students who work with livestock at school learn about responsibility and priorities. The students do not care, the pigs do not care if it's too cold or too hot or if it's raining, they still must eat. The goats do not care that you would rather hang out with your friends, they still need grooming and milking. They learn math, science, and reading comprehension, all from controlling weight management, deworming, and medicating their livestock. They use a microscope to detect and identify parasites. They must weigh the animal, read and interpret the dosage labels, calculate the dosage, and ensure that the medication is correct for the parasite present. They learn about genetics when breeding for certain traits. When they take a project animal to a show, they practice their communication skills by interacting with the public and explaining their animal to the judges. When a student has been working with an animal for months, whether it be a 55-pound goat, a 300-pound pig, or a 1,000-pound steer, and they take it into the show ring and it does exactly what they have trained it to do, they build their confidence and self-esteem. When the fence needs to be built or the barns need to be cleaned, they learn about hard work associated with livestock. When animals don't place, they learn how to overcome disappointment and strive to do better next time. All these tasks require students to work as a team. What we are asking is not new to the state of Florida. I have visited schools in the middle of Tampa with large livestock operations. I have met with teachers from Orlando who have successful, well-supported livestock programs, and Miami-Dade has showcased their livestock program in the newspaper. Livestock within the city limit is necessary for a school with an agriculture program. The need for animals on campus is to raise students who love agriculture, who will be resilient in the face of difficulties, have confidence in their abilities, who are responsible adults and who have great teamwork skills. In a time when our community is facing a difficult financial future and employers complain that they cannot find dependable, hardworking employees with integrity, this is exactly what a full and complete agriculture program produces.
Okay, I spoke to you for a few minutes before the meeting. Now, this is an actual class during school.
Yes, sir.
It's not considered extracurricular, it's
So
considered,
it's intracurricular. Okay, so the livestock serve two purposes.
sure,
They are there for the class, and students throughout the day work with the animals to complete their tasks that are required in the standards, and I've printed a few of them here. They have to recognize, describe, and demonstrate prevention of treatment of control of animal diseases and disorders. They have to read, interpret, and demonstrate correct uses of pesticides, medication, and other additives according to their labels. Demonstrate the procedures for preparing, maintaining, and handling livestock. Demonstrate proper methods to clean and disinfect animal equipment and facilities. Those are standards that are listed from the Florida Department of Education are required for my students to be able to do their curriculum successfully.
now, is this in the high school or
Yes,
in the
sir.
middle school? or both?
Middle school does the same thing.
So, okay, so there's two,
We have two different agriculture programs, one at the high school, one at the middle school, and they both have similar standards that require students to work with livestock.
okay, and you have animals at both locations?
Yes.
Okay. I was trying to understand this. It's been a long time since I was in high school.
There, I appreciate your question.
Okay. And so one's located at the high school, one's located at the middle school.
And then we also have a property next to the district office as well.
Oh, primary.
Yeah, old primary.
Oh, okay. She got three
Yes, sir.
general.
Smaller animals on the school campuses, larger animals on the Perry primary is the plan.
I got you. Okay. Well, I know, it seems like I'm reading all this between both books. It's about 700 something pages, but I read something to the effect of curriculum, schools and curriculum being allowed.
I was just saying private schools that have a similar curriculum to the public schools fit in the same category. Didn't have anything to do with the curriculum of animals.
I'm assuming that there's a problem in doing this because there's a conflict with a city ordinance or comp plan or something.
Yes, sir, that's what we've been told.
Are you sure there's not a statute that overrides that?
We have sent the statute that we had to the city attorney, and we were told that was not sufficient.
The way it reads is they're allowed at the school. This is how you have to take care of them. It doesn't say they are allowed at the school.
So all these schools that'll be called that are doing this are in violation. How many schools, not district schools, are there in this state? And they're doing it.
I believe each city has its own ordinance. I personally worked in Tampa in an agriculture program in the middle of the city, and we never had any issues with anybody telling us we were in violation of anything.
Well, I could see the city having a lawsuit, if you want to call it that, because of the potential of others to be involved in it. But generally, from what I'm going by, what you just read, as far as statute, I would have something over that overrides it.
Yeah, it seems to me,
I've sent everything I have. We're just trying to figure out what we need to do, what you need us to do. We just want to be able to have our livestock and do it however we're told we need to do it.
I mean, it's common sense is telling me if it's a class at school and it's just part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
Seems to
Can I
me,
speak to that since I was referred to?
sure,
Being the city attorney. The Florida State Statute, 1003.75 deals with regulation of all different types of experiments and class, dealings with animals from dissection to keeping of livestock. What I was understanding about the statute, as well as what from the comments and general consensus, is that regardless of what may be permissible by a school, in the sense that they can do it, they can hold it, it still has to comply with different zoning requirements. A school can have a pool, but they still have other elements that they have to comply with. And so in talking to John, because I believe the question was whether or not the city would have to make an exception and then it go through the regular process, including reviewing zoning board. That is what I suggested, both because I believe even though the school board owns the property where the Perry Primary School is in particular, it's tantamount to just opening up a farm in a residential neighborhood and expecting that, because there's a statute that says a school can have animals, especially in a place where there's no longer a school, it doesn't, I don't believe it totally corresponds to the intent of not just that statute, but there still have to be zoning issues when it comes to livestock. For instance, and I'm not a livestock expert, but I was looking at, and I have been, because I was only made aware of this yesterday afternoon, that there are plenty of places that comply. Madison, Lafayette counties, I was looking at foreign places that I can quickly get information, but say, I understand 5 pigs and 5 cattle was being considered for the property at Perry Primary, and the pool barn area, which is a very specific area, was noted as where they would be. I understand in order for most places, you need an acre to help graze 1 cow. So we're not literally just talking about a place where they may be housed or pushed in the evening to settle down. You're basically going to need a pretty substantial amount of space to properly deal with those 10 animals or beasts of burden. And right there across from at least 3 sides of a residence, the other side is the school board. So it wasn't the idea that you would be in violation if it were to happen, but there would be some steps additional, and every locality has a right to determine what can go in there. And the fact that if you can say the school owns this property too, I don't believe from what I read justify just throwing in things that normally would not be allowed because of the zoning. But as a city, you have the right to open it up and make an exception and hear from the community that involves. Because I understand there was a barn, maybe you can tell me if I'm correct, maybe not a barn, but there were some goats at one time on the actual campus of the high school that may have been.
Prior to that, there have been pigs. As long as there's been an agriculture program, there's been animals on that campus.
Right, and so what I shared.
have there been complaints about it? I
No,
don't know, I'm just wondering, has there been,
to my knowledge, the first issue came when code enforcement showed up in May.
that was when
This was after all of the issues with the goats in the paper.
gotcha.
Now, that was on the high school campus, close to the people and the students be caring for it. What has been added, and what I understand, not added, but the consideration of turning the now bulldozed land in Perry Primary, there's no school on, and holding pigs and cattle there. An adjacent piece of property that, I think would not only, unlike the high school, because I still believe that the municipality still has a right to determine even where that would go or not go, but that is a budding property across the street that's a sports field, a commercial field, and I think there's only one lane of residential houses on this side. And I understand those provisions were done by Green Line. But again, I would argue that locally it's still a decision of the city to allow for it. But whereas particularly on an unadjacent part, which I don't believe is addressed specifically in that statute, that if there was to be an exception, that the city can decide and the subsequent zoning boards, if that's going to be an exception, they're going to allow. So it would not be against or in violation, but that I would suggest there need to be another step in saying that this is where it could be. I don't know how much property the high school or the school board owns in other places. So it's not the idea of prohibiting there being any livestock or any farm animals anywhere, but the idea would be, I would say, first of all, to have it in places zoned appropriately for agriculture or livestock. And secondarily, if it's not, that the exception be considered by the council and subsequent zoning boards to determine if you're going to allow for it in that place.
Would
So
you-
say if they went to an agriculturally zoned place, we wouldn't even be here.
There's agricultural zone land all around it. I looked at it this afternoon. I know that specific piece isn't, but it's everywhere around it.
Right, there's homes there, there are people who live there.
Wouldn't you be spot zoning then?
I'm so sorry.
Wouldn't you be spot zoning? Okay. Yeah, take the area and only in this spot right here can we do this, but you can't and you can't.
I believe if that's what the council or body would do, it would be spot zoning.
Could you,
But it's illegal.
Only, well, one can be commercial neighborhood can be spot zone.
could you all provide us with a diagram or an aerial photograph or whatever of where you want to put it?
I actually have a drawing of what the barn at Perry Primary would look like. The CTE director, school district. I don't.
All that, all we work on once.
Say Perry Primary, the former primary property.
Yes, I know.
Where they tore down the round building? Is that what
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
talking about?
Yes,
Okay.
I understood there was no, but Amy from zoning said there was not gonna be any new buildings on that property, but
No,
the
ma'am.
whole barn
Yes,
that
ma'am.
exists presently,
Yes,
that I think was used for
I think it was physical education or something.
it was like the outbuildings that were not attached to the round circular.
It's a shaded area.
And
there.
she mentioned an anchor, these are not long-term animals, they're market animals, so they're not grazing animals. We're not breeding these cattle and these pigs. They're only kept for a certain amount of time and then they're taken to market. So we do not need the big area we would need if we were trying to graze and reproduce the cattle. And this is the existing structure and this would just be an add-on pen at the end.
So these little stalls will be the existing.
Yes, sir.
And then that piece down here would be an add-on.
Yes, sir.
Stove
And it's
type.
100 by 200 foot pen for the students to work with the animals in.
But now that is, you want that to go where the old primary school was?
Yes, ma'am.
That is now just vacant,
Yes, ma'am.
except for
There's,
maybe instead of pole barn.
Yes,
You've already got
yes,
that.
ma'am. It's the only thing that's there right now.
yeah, it's only there down as a pole barn.
Can you point it out on that map, because I believe if it's what Amy shared, it's on this section of the road across from that neighborhood that has, it's not in the center of the property.
No, it's not.
There.
Yeah, it's right there. Yes, sir. That's it.
It's the only thing less standing besides a fence. Or that,
What this still needs to go before the zoning board?
There's a couple ways to get it done. If we want to do a text amendment to the LDR, that will have to come before y'all, go to the planning and zoning, and then come back to y'all.
How long does that take?
They would do it in July 1st.
Yeah, and they could have, Amy said they could do a special meeting on July 8th.
Yeah, one thing I learned during, if I didn't learn anything else during COVID, I learned that an ordinance can be passed pretty quick. Real quick.
So what is the
So-
real concern here
It's not like a brand new law.
of the statute,
Zone that.
city of Perry law,
Say
which
this.
says what?
For clarity, I can kind of tell you how this really started. Last year, we had someone on an RSF1 zone piece of property.
Yep.
Which is the same zoning that the high school complained that the high school had animals and she couldn't because we had to deal with her goats that were getting out and wandering in the neighbor yard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we had her remove those goats. She filed a complaint about the high school having animals. I didn't know it was RSF1 at the time.
Yeah, I didn't
I pulled
either.
the zoning and looked at it, and it is RSF1. And Mr. Bryan, she can probably clarify special exception when the high school was originally cited for that property. I believe you were city manager when that happened. There was a special exception which is allowed by our LDRs for a school to go on RSF1 parcel.
I think they can go in any zoning district by special exception, I think, yeah.
I mentioned it to a school official, and I thought it was handled, and then we never looked at it again. But when the goats were attacked by the dog from down the road, we realized the animal was still there. I don't have a problem with the program. I have a problem with the law not being followed the way that the city has it lined out. If there's a way to cure this, I'm for it, because I don't want them not to have that program. But my concern is if we don't cure this properly, everyone else with an RSF1 zoning is gonna be here doing the same thing.
Yep.
So we've got to narrowly carve out a way to make an exception just for schools. And if we do that, is that challengeable through court? It's my concern now. Can they say we're doing it for one and not for all, so we don't have fair and equal
You can
protection?
challenge anything to court.
I know that.
That's just,
But we need to do it in such a way that we don't have to defend this for a long time when we do it.
did the
And
county,
also if I can add a
Yeah.
little bit more, because I wasn't aware of that, but at least I thought it was those that were attacked on the high school, not a resident. But I understand in that same area, someone had a horse. I don't know if the police were involved with that.
We did.
And they had to remove the horse because it wasn't allowed. Also, I've lived by a pig farm and it was only a few pigs. It stinks. Now, that doesn't mean that that issue, the smell potentially, especially if not gonna be there long, may supersede everything else. But I do believe that going through the process and not just sort of stereotypically saying, oh yeah, the statute allows for it, will allow for there at least to be, you hear from the neighbors, and I really appreciated the information I read. I don't know if it was from you, and I keep looking back, I'm sorry. But that there was a desire for, you won't make everybody happy, but for there to be a community effort, because we do want the children to understand and appreciate our culture. And the idea of like, this expanding beyond the high school, that they've already had animals there, to, I'm hearing 2 other places, the middle school and,
The middle school had animals too.
okay, and both of those are not as abundant to, an area, but, right, so they've already had that, and this will just be adding a third and maybe more animals, right?
Is this a course you've got that's required to take?
The first course in the agriculture sequence satisfies the science requirements for students for graduation. So the majority of our 9th graders who are in advanced biology take my class as their science credit for graduation.
So this is if you want to take it, type.
Elected.
Well, it does, they don't count it as an elective,
Oh,
it's counted as a science class.
the science is required, right?
They have to have 3 sciences to graduate, and we only have a certain number of sciences at the high school, and this is one of them.
So it's
But it's
required, so it's one of the required, it's one of the few required science classes.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
I live right there. But that's beside the point, I've been there. Worse things than that. But I swear I do not understand how you can be so-called required. And then the city can say no. I do not believe that there's not some statute that cover that.
Can we
Yeah.
override?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with that myself.
Can we override this thing?
State, so you can't override.
That's what I'm saying.
Because it seems like with it being part of the curriculum, there's gotta be something there.
That's just.
Did you-
They meet the requirement.
Oh, I understand, but that's definitely different than saying it's required.
Miss Shirley, you want to say something?
But there could be reasons, that's the only available to some person. It's, you know, what?
And we are also the only complete
Right.
complete program that students can complete in order to get certain scholarships for college through Bright Futures.
true.
So without the
But-
program, there'd be a whole circle of students that would not be eligible for any scholarships for college.
Have you discussed this with any other school?
In the area,
Anywhere.
not recently. I did reach out to our state organization. They said they have not personally heard of any other schools that have encountered this problem in the recent.
Well,
Of course, I know we never have either. Do you remember
We
anything?
just
Mr.
want to do
Brown?
whatever it is you guys need us to do to be legal within the rules, whatever it is.
I don't know what the minimum acreage is for zoning changes individually, but there is a number. And I think, how many acres is that high school property on? John, you know?
Believe if we did a special exception, I mean, have you talked to the planning council? They got back with you or anything?
We talked to them several times. They're trying to come up with ideas too. The two were floating around as if we want to do this, try to find a way to change it to an agricultural zone. Don't know if that's gonna be possible because we're a spot zoning, or amend our LDR text to allow it, and that way we can control how we want it to be done.
I've heard the number of 10 or more acres before they should rezone things.
That's a large scale, that's a large scale.
Yeah, when I looked earlier today, it depends on the zone as to how many acres you have to have.
10 or under is
So
a,
agricultural, it does not specify.
yeah, 10's a break point between a small scale or large scale.
I would think the easiest way is if they could comply by the acreage size of that property and they could rezone it, that'd be the easiest fix. Because we're not having to battle everybody else in RSF one. That'd be the easiest thing to do.
What animals are you going to put there?
Goats, pigs, cattle.
If they do get turned into ag, then they can do whatever they want to.
Mm-hmm.
They can run wild.
They could.
They usually
That's why I
keep it
like
clean.
changing the LDR.
They were keeping it clean before they made to let it go.
These animals, this number of them.
I'm trying to listen, John.
I
John,
see that.
what were you saying? I'm sorry, I missed all that.
If we let them rezone straight to ag, they could run wild with animals.
Right, border to
But
border.
if you do a LDR amendment, we have a little more control of what goes on. You could say this many number of animals per acre.
And put a
Got
set,
a fence this high, I got whatever you can do whatever you want,
right.
That's not crossing any lines?
That'd be-
and only for school.
Yeah, only for school.
That's not crossing any lines, what we telling someone what they can and cannot do on their property?
If you were to label it only for schools with active programs,
Mm-hmm.
I think would be,
Add that too for educational programs only.
Yeah.
Cause I'm trying to help them.
I
They need that program.
don't have a problem with.
I agree.
I don't want to
Stop
have
placement.
It's just,
to do
Yeah.
two standards.
Uh-huh.
it's just if you do this, you're gonna open up, Lord knows what.
Because we've turned away so many people wanting votes, etc. Now we're going to say yes. I think we need to dig a little bit deeper before we decide on this.
Are you guys under some deadlines for anything that you're trying to get? this done quick?
Explain the grant opportunity? Or is that not true?
No, we do have a grant, but that, our CT director has that information, she's out of town, so I don't know what the deadline is for that grant. Jody Tillman,
A grant for,
to build a barn.
oh, okay. And, of course, you want to get the program started.
Yes.
Before
in
school
order for
starts.
the pigs to make it to the market this year, we would have to have them by October. And the
Okay.
same kind of goes with the goats, in order for them to participate in any of the breeding shows, we would have to have them out by October as well. And
Ship.
speaking with the barn people, after they pour the concrete, we still have to wait 6 to 8 weeks before they can put the barn in.
For the care.
Yes.
What about, protection for the animals to keep the dogs from coming in and what?
That's what the new barn is for, so they will be in the barn during the day. And there will be a fence and pasture around the outside with wire that goes underneath the ground so dogs cannot dig in.
I have a question. What happens, and I know we're talking about 3 different plots of land. So because you all have already had things maintaining, at least in the middle school and high school, especially the space where there is not attached to a school directly, how do you maintain that throughout the school year?
That's a good
Or
question.
are they only there for like a month? Like what is that?
So they are there for a short period of time, the animals that would be at the Old Perry primary site. And specific students are assigned to their daily care. And then the class, it's a short enough distance that the class can walk there periodically to do things like weighing, administering medications or dewormer or any of that, but the day-to-day, there would be specific students that would be responsible for the upkeep before and after school.
And when you say a short time, is like within a semester?
So we usually get them around in October and they go to market in February.
Like Madison High School.
5 months.
It's on
Give or take.
west.
Yeah, it's a little ways out of town.
It's out of town on the
I
west
think it's probably not even in the city.
Curious what they were doing.
It's probably agricultural.
Is that about
That's part of
Charlotte
that.
County?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
looks
that's
like-
it. Look, we would have to have, we would have to have a public hearing. We're gonna change any of this stuff. That might be a problem too. if we have a public hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd probably be an ordinance type thing with 2 meetings and all that.
Well, I saw a 2 meeting ordinance passed in 15 days, so
The legal name of the program.
Taylor County Agriculture Programs.
No.
The future.
Oh, the,
State name.
well, it's the class, but then the it's not really extra, the intracurricular program that goes with the class, which every student is a member of, is the FFA.
What?
The FFA,
Future
formerly known as the Future Farmers of America.
that's a fairly large organization, is it not?
Yes, sir. We have 60,000 members over the state of Florida.
Have a big meeting here once a year, I believe, at the,
Yes, so
FLO.
we just returned back from that a couple of weeks ago. In fact, one of our members was the first ever member from Taylor County to get her state FFA degree.
is she here?
Yeah.
I think she is. I think I recognize her.
Right here.
Congratulations. I recognize you from the newspapers.
There's another way to do this. Go to the legislative delegation. And get them to pass a law. Saying that the city's got no, or county, got no authority to override something like this.
It'd be a good long-term fix.
Yeah.
They're not gathering back up till January. February, whenever they go in session.
Yes, they'd have some sponsor.
Yeah,
They had been find sponsors. That won't be a problem.
shouldn't be with FFA. Behind them, so.
Can we get John and hope they do their homework and let's go from there?
They only get together with, North Central Florida. They've never done this before.
I'd like to have.
Somebody somewhere had to have. I would think.
What the Madison was.
even with Lafayette, I think, I mean, but their county and where their school is different also, like, you know,
They're just
I know
outside the
we-
city.
raised the pig all year, they got excited about having it. And so I think it's not about not allowing it, but just where and what are those regulations. So the idea of potentially changing it over to a different type of zone. So we're not spot zoning as Councilmember Bryan is cautioning against, or the other aspect of doing an exception. Or a
Which
text
probably,
amendment to LDR.
that'd probably be a better approach.
Wouldn't that number one exception cover it?
That lets the school, this prohibited line. Specifically permitted keeping of horses, cows, swine, sheep, goats, poultry. It's in the prohibited use.
Okay.
But then it goes down
But
to
then you got
curriculum
exceptions.
Exception is for there to be a school there, not the.
Justice.
with curricula, which this is curriculum, I thought.
You're
legally.
misunderstanding that. That's just saying, a
Public-
private school has the same curriculum as a public school.
Does Madison have this program?
They
All-
do.
Have
all
y'all reached
public
out
school.
to Michael Raines to see what they did
They're in
when it
the,
came to the statues?
well, I think they're in the county.
They're in the county.
They got a different
Okay.
A lot of
set of
this,
regulations.
so it's, again, it's not the idea of not having an agricultural area for animals, but where.
It's just where the school is the.
The location.
That's the only
I mean,
So
it's-
the
But I was gonna say they
different
don't
types
have a
of
problem.
agricultural Zoning and your school zoning, I mean, most people would put, you know, a livestock right next to their house, even if the school's across the street. So it does make sense to me that the state of Florida would not allow for that, just because the school may want to do it, that it preempts all other zoning issues that may consider through the history of the charter of the city.
Your barn you're putting up, how close is, or where you keep the animals, how close is it to the edge of the property, generally speaking? Do you have any?
The goats and everything will be in the middle of the school, the middle of the back of the school property.
So it'll be
And
200,
then
300
if
foot
you look
off
on
the
map,
edge.
You saw where the barn was for the pigs and the cattle.
I'm sorry,
And when we looked at the map, you pointed out the barn. for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
pigs.
it's kind of in the middle itself, so, yeah.
Now, I don't know what they did down in Hillsborough County, but I know like Chamberlain High School is in the middle of a neighborhood and they have a huge pig barn and they have cattle and they have all the things that we're asking to have.
My wild guess on that is they got grandfathered in from 60 years ago. I'm guessing. I don't know that. I've just seen things like that happen. Guy at the Horsemen's Association out on 27 East, a neighborhood kind of grew around it. And then but it had been there
Yeah, it
for
was there
years,
first.
right?
Yeah.
Have you
It's the will of the
checked,
public, sure, you know, it's the will of the people, there's a lot of things that goes on because the community particularly wants it or don't want it there. I was wondering with the middle school, where is their part that they are currently housing or have housed?
It's behind the building that they call the pub, and then right behind that is, the school bus.
Bus garage,
The bus.
yeah.
Is
That or
it
toward that little
possible to
creek
get
area.
like I think one person asked, like, not just a description, but like an actually drawn out
Side plan.
site plan for all three spaces.
Can ask somebody.
I'm sure you.
I
So
don't know,
if you
I don't
want,
know who, but I can ask
if
somebody.
you wanted the zoning changed, you're probably gonna have to
You're gonna
furnish that
Well-
anyway.
Either that, or like I said, if we go zoning, or whether we go toward a special exception toward type thing specifically for the schools. To do, because I think the schools are in a lot of different zoning districts, because they're allowed in all of them. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm wondering if they might have an area about, Forest Capitol Hall, like vocational school. That way you won't have to be going through all of this.
But then
And
if
where do
we,
you have FHA?
if we moved it too far, then we wouldn't be able to use the livestock as part of the curriculum because we would not be able to get there on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's busing.
They gotta have
I thought they had buses.
Every day.
What do they have?
Maybe
an
they could work it out, you know, busing.
How long are your classes on?
The class is only like an hour.
56,
Classes off.
You're gonna spend 30 minutes going back and forth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and not have any time to complete any task.
And they will be late to the next class.
And what classes are you serving for this program?
Well, at the high school, we do 9th through 12th grade, and at the middle school, they do 6th through 8th grade.
All within walking distance.
Yes.
I think we need to bring it back, John. You do it.
I'd recommend y'all let me start on the LDR text amendment application. It's gotta come back to y'all anyway for approval. If we find a better option, we can cancel it and do something else. But this will get the ball rolling now so they can have an answer faster.
Okay.
And if we come up with something between now and the next meeting, if we need to have a special meeting in between, that's okay too.
I'd like to know how y'all could word the text. Do you want to limit the number of animals, setbacks from the fence, double fence, all those things to think about?
We have that information. Yeah, because I don't want to do anything
Y'all wanna-
wrong.
Y'all know what you're doing with this stuff. I'm ashamed to say my mother had a cattle farm and I didn't spend a lot of time on it, so I don't really know what I'm doing. Y'all know what you want, you know what needs to happen. Is there any possibility y'all can work together and come up with some?
Here's a better question I have. Y'all want to allow the program to operate on the schools?
Yes,
I do, yeah.
yes.
Let me
If
work on the way to
we
get there. We
I
can't
don't
do
want to
it.
do.
It can all be done.
And maybe check with other counties and what they did, what process they went through to make it right.
That would be all part of the research.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have to agree with Vito. We've sent away so many people.
So
Move that.
we don't get,
Many people give away their horses.
it's that part.
I'll see it.
Yes,
Bottom line.
and all of that
I know.
because of this.
And ma'am, how many acres did you want to devote to the animals? Do you say like 200 feet by 100 feet?
So there's the pole barn that's already there, and then the drawing that we've come up with has use of the pole barn with a 200 by 100 foot pin attached to the end of it for students to be able to work with the animals.
And that's the only turnout for the animals?
Yes.
That's really small. I mean, that's good for goats and a couple of pigs or something. I mean,
So 5 pigs and 5.
that's a
cats.
catch pen. I mean, that's, yeah. That's a corral, basically.
So say too small for that. And
You're not gonna have horses and cows out there. No way.
You'd say horses.
No
As has been mentioned,
no horses.
but cows too.
Show cattle are raised that way.
Then you're gonna have to dig them home.
Yes, ma'am. They will have morning and night care.
But it's just a corral, basically. You're
Yes,
talking
ma'am.
about a corral,
Yes.
not even acreage.
This will have to go through the school.
They would have been here tonight, but they're having their own school board meeting.
Does it need to? You say it needs to go through the school board?
Sure. They own the property. Board.
Well, I'm sure
Board
they'll
and
put
stuff.
their input in.
The
if They've already,
superintendent, Alicia Bashir, is already on board. We are waiting
Yeah.
for an answer from this body before we take our barn approval in front of the school board.
right.
Right, you gotta make sure you can build it and use
Because
it.
the city's allowing us to do it before we get the school board.
So let John research it and look at exactly.
And then I will
I
turn
don't want to slow down. We don't get the text amendment approved today. Get it in for the July meeting, not a bunch of special meetings. We just moved it back on another month.
You want to do it right, John? Well,
So what do you suggest?
It needs to be different.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not hearing a deadline that's gonna make that possible, but I'm understanding, at least as to the corral, the animals will be feeding that by October, and the barn takes how long?
Well, we were told it takes 6 to 8 weeks after the concrete is poured. That's not including how long it's gonna take to get the concrete laid out. So that's 2 months. That's meaning the barn, the concrete needs to be finished by the beginning of August in order for the barn to be in by April.
But the barn is built regardless, right?
It's
Yes, but the school district did not want to do it until they knew that we were gonna be allowed to keep animals there.
So in that grant, is it, the citizens designated location, you have to build on.
She doesn't. I don't believe so, but again, CT Director Jody Tillman is the.
If there's no requirement for a location, you can get it approved. As soon as we get this done, you go ahead and start construction. So I don't want you to lose that grant, but I'm trying to make sure that you get that money.
But Jamie, you're making an assumption.
Yes, sir, I am. I'm just trying to offer some
It's added.
way to work through this.
Right, and
Going
keep,
to-
keep everything going.
Once we got through tonight, I was going to ask Superintendent Bashir if she would be okay with going ahead and getting the school board to approve everything pending answer from the city council.
Well, for it personally, I hate the fact I don't want it to get, I don't want it to get bogged down in a lot of bureaucracy. Unfortunately, it seems to be going that way, but however we can make it speed up some, we really can. We got children here that personally, I mean, I like to see kids, I like to see it where kids are still doing things and working with their hands and learning something. Learn how to work with their hands and, nothing against video gamers. Everybody's got their place in life. I'm not saying that, but I'm just glad to see that happen. I just don't want us adults to mess things up.
I'll also point out that the agriculture program is one of the only things left for some of these boys to participate in because we don't have shop or auto mechanics or anything out, and we're trying really hard to keep our younger boys from dropping out and going to BBTC. And the agriculture program that we are growing is the main way we're trying to keep those students in school.
Good.
Good deal.
I think we are all for what you're trying to do.
We're just trying to figure out how we can do it.
Yes.
Exactly. And we need to find out sooner than later, it sounds like.
Yes, sir.
The more exacting information you can provide, the better the council can, as well as myself and John, figure out some of those holes. So I don't know if that means your director and you or whatever, but we need exacting information. I was understanding it was the grant that was pushing whether or not we were trying to get something started today or the next meeting.
Well, I'm sure there's gotta be a deadline coming up because we received this grant, I wanna say back in February. So we've had this grant for quite a while now.
Do what we can.
Yes, ma'am.
We're gonna, if I have my way about it, we're gonna get it done. So, all right, thank y'all.
Thank you for your service.
Thank y'all for coming.
Motion for me to submit an LDR amendment to the planning and zoning that would allow the program to function. Or do you still want us to do some research and come back next week?
We did. Do it the right way.
It's gonna come before 3 more public hearings, whatever we submit,
Excuse me.
3?
Right.
then once and twice, y'all.
If you allow him the direction to go ahead and work on that amendment now, you still have the authority not to approve it later. But it's trying to speed it up.
Right.
But good judgment tells you not to vote on something
Yes,
before. And not to amend an agenda item of such a magnitude.
what the motion could be
You
to
can.
direct him to,
You can pick it up the time in different places.
it could be a motion to direct him to prepare something for you to approve at a later time.
Well, I think
And review.
that's where we are.
Does that need to be a motion to the vote? Or just consensus?
We'll keep researching other ways. There might be a better way to get this done.
Right.
And you want to do it right, not fast.
Yes, true.
Preferably both,
True, but
preferably.
yet today the director's not here. There's nothing sharing all the specifics that we know are available to us.
Sure.
That's not a big part of them.
There's, we may need to work with them on the ways that they can too, to address the concerns of anybody listening in there. That might be something we need to work on as well.
All of the above.
All right, so we just need a consensus to go forward.
I think we got that.
Sounds to me like we do.
Well,
So you're gonna,
yeah, we asked John to research it and bring it back to us.
you just need to, I guess you can email it to us individually, we can look it over. As you come up with things or ideas or whatever, so.
If y'all come up with some ideas or hear something, somebody else has done, figure this out, let me know. Not reinvent the wheel, it's been done. I don't know why it's so hard for us to do it.
I think it's like Ward said, I think a bunch of these towns are grandfathered in.
I'm just guessing they were. I mean, I don't know that, but I've seen it happen out here in our town, so I don't know if it was or wasn't, but I think they were. Because FFA's been around for a long time, I'm guessing. So,
Been on the council for 12 years. It's always been enough for locations.
all right, thank y'all so much. Appreciate y'all coming, bringing this to our attention, and like I said, we're gonna move forward. Speaking for myself, we're gonna move forward to get it fixed. So we can. Thank you very much. Anybody else want to speak on this? All right. Again, thank y'all. And John, what do you want to do next? Okay. 6A, Brad Hugh. Did I pronounce your name right?
Yes, sir, but we still around.
Helen John, CPA, to address the council regarding the fiscal year 2022-2023 audit.
Yes, sir. First of all, I'd like to, thank you all for having me. My name is Brad Huff, my partner, Alan Jones. I'd also like to present, Kenny and Brandy and Charlie reports and everything like that, pretty much everything we need to have, to complete the audit. You all should have, a copy of the audit for you. If you go to page 20, we will get started on the presentation. So just say our audit was conducted in accordance with auditing standards that are generally accepted in the United States and also government auditing standards. The goal of an audit is to receive a clean opinion, which speaks to the quality of the bookkeeping and then the reliability of the information within the audit. As some of y'all can see on page 29. Based on the second paragraph, speaks to the fact that you all did receive a clean opinion, it was unmodified, and that means we believe the information that's within the financial statements is reliable for making decisions. You can go to page 27. So government standard requires us to include a management discussion analysis page. I'm going to skip over this, but I would encourage you all to read it later on. It helps with the information within the audit in front of you guys, the financial report into context. So I feel it goes to page 43. 43, this is the basic financial statements here. Government auditing standards require the city to report governmental activities in two ways. One is like a business for long-term profitability as seen below, and then on the next page. The other is more short-term in nature, and it's probably more used for budgeting purposes, and this is more we're focused on more today. The business activities are shown, like I said, on pages 43 and 44. But if you turn to page 45, we can look at the short-term activities. Page 45, this is your balance sheet. It's basically what the city owns and what it owes, and then the net of those two things. So if you want to look in that first column, it says under general.
Yeah, you said 6.1.
No, I'm sorry, the 6.1, that's on 2 pages from now, but I'm using that, so we might.
Okay, because I
Sorry.
was fine.
No, that was on there, you will see that in a second. But, 2.2 million or so in, unassigned, fund balance in that first, column under general. And, anyway, so we take that and we divide it by the expenses, which you'll see in a couple of pages, and you get about, your unassigned fund balance would last about 4 months, which is good, which is kind of, what we like to see. You look on page 47, kind of take a look at your, governmental activity in general fund, statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. That's, this is basically what you spent and what you earned in the current year in the short term. So first, I want to know that there's an increase of about 394,000 or so down at the bottom of the page in the general fund, which is funded heavily through transfers from other funds. It's been the case for years. We'll note that we talked about this in the prior meeting, that the level of transfers from the water fund has decreased by about $800,000 this year. So that's go to page 49. This right here is your proprietary funds, right? This is going to be your utility funds, right? They operate more like a business as opposed to the short-term budgetary aspect of the governmental funds. But again, this is your statement of net position, which is like your balance sheet. It shows what each fund owns or what's owed to it and what it owes to relates to the various utility functions of the city. For the same calculations we did on the prior page, we looked at operational expenses and budgeted transfers compared to the restricted net position. Unrestricted net position, which is down bottom. That's your second bottom line if you're looking at that for each fund. So if you look for the gas revenue, it's about 1.8 million. The sewer revenue is about 600,000, so on and so forth. As far as that goes, the gas, water, and inventory funds were on good shape with regards to if expenses stay the same as they have been. How long would your unrestricted net assets last or your net position last? So they're in pretty good shape. Sewer and parks were lower than 4 months, but they weren't alarming. They're a little over 2 months and everything that you had in unrestricted net position. And then the only one that I was really looking at was the solid waste fund. You see your unrestricted net position about 65,000 there. So something you guys want to look at. If you go to the next page, page 15, I'd like to point out operationally. So that's going to be about midway down there. There's a big space there. You see operating income and loss. So if you're looking at gas fund, you see 265,000. 570, 81 million, so on and so forth. So you see that, you see your overall utility funds, operationally, you gain 316,000. That does not include transfers in there, which we'll include that in a second. But the interesting thing is on the next page, which is the statement of cash flow, which tells you how your cash is, you got to jump about almost $2 million. So to see that number, the 1.96 million, that's in your total fund, and it's not the third to the bottom there. That's going to be your increase or decrease in cash. So you see, you only operationally you gain 316,000, you gain about 2 million in cash. The reason for that is you have heavy investment in capital assets, and you have large depreciation. So I guess one thing you might see is your sewer revenue fund here. You see an operating loss of about $1 million, a little over $1 million there. But you look at your depreciation expense, it's about 1.1 million there. So it means that you have a lot of the non-cash expense there. Which is the reason for that. So depreciation does a couple of things. It allows you to, one thing it does is when you buy a capital asset, you're allowed to allocate that expense over the course of a long period of time. But the other thing is, if you're running a profit, it allows you to profitably, depreciation allows you to run about even with your banking cash for that non-expense so that you can purchase fixed assets in the future. Something you might want to look at in the silver revenue fund. Page 51 is the cash flow statement, we just addressed that. We go to page 67 to look at your capital assets that we we're talking about. So kind of say your capital assets, your fixed assets, some might call them. You look at your governmental activities. So accumulated depreciation is kind of it's a rough estimate of saying how much of your capital assets are used. Sorry.
What page is that?
Page 67, I apologize. Big table there. It's right there, okay. So this is what you invest in capital assets here, your governmental activities, so, would be, yeah, about 7.79 million there, and they're depreciated about 4.6 million. So what that says is, a rough estimate about 60% of their useful life has been used up. So you're thinking that a lot of these are going to be coming down the future. A lot of these things might need to be replaced in a fair amount of time from now. If you look at your business type activities, that's your utility funds, your your water and sewer and what have you. It's about 50% of that's been used up. So that's just kind of something to look at there. If you want to go to page 99, the other thing to look at is debt. You see that. So the primary debt that I'm seeing here is the you have your SRF construction loans, your USDA bonds payable. In total, those outstanding at the end of the audit year was about 6.2 million, with about 220,000 set to be paid down in the next year. Page 102, another thing that governmental accounting standards requires us to do is to include a budget for governmental activities. So you'll see over the next few pages, I think have those. I just want to point out the general fund. In your general fund, you guys received by 800,000 more than was budgeted this year, and spent about 185,000 less. There was a net favorable impact of about $1 million there. You can go to page 152. Page 152, this is what we spend federal awards. When you spend a certain amount of federal awards, it triggers, I'm sorry, 153. When you spend a certain amount of federal awards, it triggers something called a single audit. A single audit is for, it basically is like, how did you comply with the program requirements for the funds that you've been spending? The major program will say you guys did spend the 777,000 there the current year. Which is over the 750, so it did trigger the single audit. We looked at the funds that did the SRF loan from the that originates from the EPA as our major program, and had no findings related to that to compliance. So it appears you're in compliant in all material respects with that. Go to page 157. This will be the last time at ES services. Anyway, so also as a part of our audit, we review internal controls, not to render an opinion on them, but to help us in our select our audit procedures and what have you. In the current year, we had no findings related to internal controls. Going further, you don't have to turn here, you can have page 164. You have the management letter, also communicates that there were no findings. And then in page 166 discusses our opinion. In our opinion, there were also no findings related to your investment in budget funds. So that's so you have there. Other than we're grateful for working with you all. That Kenny and Randy did a great job getting things to us this year, and yeah. Look forward to working together in the future. Those are good questions.
See ya.
You all have a wonderful evening.
No.
Whoa, no way.
Waiting on him.
I mean, we were like, okay.
Just couple things, some of it statements. By resolution approved by the city council, the city manager may transfer any appropriate balance or portion thereof from one department to another. That's got to be done by resolution approved by the council. There was an interfund forgiveness of debt
Yes, sir.
that should have gone to the city council before you or John or Penny got the authority to start taking debt out of these financial statements.
Was there fund that?
Still,
Okay.
but that's my fault because I was intending to do that during the year and forgot to. Expenditures may not legally exceed appropriations for each department. Local option gas tax was only 4,200, but it's illegal. The utility tax was 227,000, of which 135,000 was the expenditure of the revenue. Sewer is 646,000, but you can't do anything about it. That, when that was written and put in the charter, it's meant to be on a cash basis. And